Pokemon Legends ZA introduced a bunch of new Megas, and I love competitive Pokemon. I wasn't playing back in the days of X and Y, but I've heard the horrors of Pyroar Mega Kangaskhan. Legends ZA, however, has absolutely no abilities. A few Pokemon like Mega Morwile and Aegislash had theirs baked in, kind of like Regigigas's back in Legends Arceus. What about the rest of the Megas? I'm going to be giving every single Mega Pokemon their own abilities. Some old ones that I just think would fit, and then some new ones that I come up with if there isn't any. And just so we're clear, some of these are ridiculous and insane, and some of them are a little funny, but a lot of them I hope they don't actually do, but you'll see. I am absolutely no professional, but it's just a little bit of fun. Up first is Meganium. Its abilities are Overgrow, obviously, and Leaf Guard. And I guess it could keep Leaf Guard when it Mega Evolves, but I think what I came up with is a little bit more interesting. Its Mega Dex entry talks about Solar being stronger, so I thought it made sense to make Mega Meganium a little bit stronger in the sun. An ability is something like Solar Power that probably doesn't deal damage to the Pokemon each turn, but instead giving them a small power boost, maybe about 25%. I personally think it would be cool if instead they healed a small amount every turn, almost as if it was in grassy terrain, but that could be a little bit broken, so we could just be boring and just give it normal Solar Power. And by the way, I know a couple of these Pokemon, like Meganium, have had their abilities revealed now, but not all of them have, and I'll get to the ones that have when I get to them. Kind of like the next one that probably should have got something a little better than what it got. Emboar is a Pokemon that learns a good amount of recoil moves, like Head Smash and Flare Blitz, so my initial idea was to give it Reckless, and then I realized that that's already what it has. Based on the Dex entry and the difference in personality between normal and Mega Emboar, I think that an ability like Stalwart would suit it well, to avoid being drawn in by moves like Rage Powder and Follow Me. It seems to be a little bit less reckless than its normal form and more inclined to protect its allies. And I know Stalwart is kind of the Duraludon line signature ability, but just slap a new name on it and give it to Emboar. Pokemon does it all the time. I really wanted to give Feraligatr Reckless or Rockhead, because I was sure a strong physical water type like this would get Wave Crash, like every single other one does. But no. In fact, its only recall move is Double Edge. And while we're on the topic of Double Edge, I think that people have been way overhyping its now confirmed ability Dragonite. Because in theory, yeah, great ability to power up the normal type moves that it gets. And then you realize that its only viable normal type move is Double Edge. So people are like, oh my god, this is gonna be crazy. I mean, yeah, it's got like 160 attack, and after a Dragon Dance, this thing will be insane. People are acting like it gets like a wide range of these moves. It's got like essentially like 3 Dragon type moves now. Anyways, I'm getting off track. The only thing I could think of that really made sense was Strongjaw. It's literally got the big stupid Totodile mouth thing going on, so might as well make use of it. And I guess it'll work great for moves like Crunch and Ice Fang and Psychic Fangs. Barbaracle is interesting. It gets Tough Claws, which is decent, but then it gets Sniper. Who gave bro a gun? Like, and its hidden ability is Pickpocket? Well, just because it has a lot of hands, it just... I couldn't find an ability that fit Mega Barbaracle's personality of using its many arms to toy with its opponents, so I came up with Onslaught. Kind of like a lesser version of Parental Bond. Stay with me, let me cook. Moves of under 60 base power will activate twice, or if it's a multi-hit move, it will have 1 added onto the use. This will work great for moves like Rock Blast, Rock Throw, Power Up Punch. Okay, I see there's an issue here. Dual Chop if it gets that back. Honestly, it's a really cool idea, but I do see how insane having Stab Double Power Up Punch would go. So, I don't know, it could really just keep Tough Claws. Mega Starmie is a stupid Pokemon, but it's really funny, and it's only fitting to give a stupid funny Pokemon a stupid funny ability. Introducing Running Start. If this Pokemon is the first one on the field to attack once per switch in, its first attack is always a crit. Yep, that's it. It's stupid and it's really funny, so I'm just gonna move on. Plummet is a hard Pokemon to give a new ability, without it just being really boring or kind of broken. Something like Fairy Aura is exclusive to Xerneas for a reason, and Misty Surge, even though it would be cool, anything that sets up weather or terrain on entry is hugely overpowered, even if Misty Terrain isn't the best of them. I figured something like Triage might be good. It's exclusive to Comfey, but like, genuinely, who cares? And that would give its healing moves like Wish, Giga Drain, and Drain Kiss priority. Especially good because it's not a particularly fast Pokemon. Pyroar's Mega sucks. And I actually meant design-wise, but looking at its stats, there's nothing crazy there either. An extra 20 in every stat still makes none of them that noticeable. So I thought of an ability that would enhance its best stats. I couldn't decide between calling it Pyro or Heliosynthesis, but it would raise its special attack and speed by 1 stage after entering sunlight. It's not really bulky enough to take a hit, so I'm just making it as fast and as strong as possible. Clefable is one of these on this that I think I have a really good idea for. Its Mega Dex entry says it uses the power of Moonlight to control gravity in an oddly specific area around it. I think an ability that would have the move Gravity constantly in effect while on the field would be awesome for Mega Clefable. For Pokemon other than itself, having all flying types and levitate Pokemon grounded would be incredibly useful in double battles. I think thematically it just works really well. Scolipede already has a great ability in Speed Boost, especially on a Pokemon that isn't crazy fast, because I feel like most Speed Boost Pokemon are already fast enough, but anyways. With this Mega Dex entry talking about the vicious nature of the venom it produces, an ability like Merciless would probably fit the best, or Battle Armor for its heightened defenses. I could see an argument for Anger Point, but that's just generally not a great ability, and nobody wants that. I did come up with a unique ability that would probably fit quite well, but I think it fits even better on the next Pokemon, Dragalge. An ability like Corrosion would work because its Dex entry literally says that its poison can corrode bones. But even more specifically from Mega Dex entry, which says its poison is so deadly it just gives you cancer. Like straight up, that is just genuinely what it is. I think an ability that makes any poison status it inflicts toxic poison, which could go crazy on some moves like Sludge Wave. But Victreebel only have a couple boring options. Because its Dex entry says if it's not careful, the acid will overflow and spill out, I think either Aftermath or Liquid Ooze would work. Unfortunately, these suck. But it makes sense for after being hit, Mega Victreebel spews out its acid as revenge, or when the opponent attempts to drain Mega Victreebel's energy, all that it gets is the acid it's full of. Mega Excadrill I can see a few possibilities for. I had written down Arena Trap, I don't really know why, it just kind of seems like the kind of Pokemon they'd give it to. But I could also see Hypercutter or Sharpness. Hypercutter being great to protect that insane 165 base attack stat, and Sharpness makes sense, but what moves would they even work for? Aerial Ace, X-Scissor, Slash, and literally not a single stab move. You know what, actually don't ever let me cook again. I think for Mega Eelektross it would have to keep some element of Levitate in there, just so it has any form of viability over normal Eelektross. So maybe an ability that combines the effects of Levitate with electric terrain. Immunity to ground moves, powered up electric moves, immunity to sleep, but only for itself. Could make this a pretty good Pokemon. Now I know Mega Dragonite's ability has been revealed to be multiscale, but I think that's dumb. It would have made so much more sense to me for it to have multiscale as a normal Dragonite, and then after Mega Evolving its ability changes. And what I think it should have changed to was either Aerialate to give it some insane stab, Hyper Beam, and extreme speed, or Gale Wings to force you to choose between using multiscale as a normal Dragonite, or Mega Evolving to then get the effects of Gale Wings. For Malamar, I genuinely had no idea. It probably makes sense for it to just keep Contrary, but its Dex entries talk about its controlling hypnotic powers, so I thought of a really stupid ability. An ability that while Mega Malamar is on the field, gives the opposing Pokemon a, hear me out, 20% chance to use a random move they didn't choose, 10% chance to be confused, and a 5% chance to fall asleep. It's stupid, it's insane, I hope they do not do this because that would be the worst thing ever to fight against. But Mega Malamar is such a garbage Pokemon that I think this is the only thing that could possibly save it. I think Mega Froslass has a very clear ability choice that would suit it well. That being Snow Warning, which I was correct about, by the way. Now that a few of the abilities have been revealed, this one was one of the correct ones. Probably the only one, but anyways. If it wasn't Snow Warning, then the one I made up myself was called Permafrost, an ability that would ignore resistance to ice when attacking opposing Pokemon, which is just an ability that I think generally Pokemon should add, because Ice type sucks enough, at least give it something on the offense. Mega Hawlucha is all about showboating, collecting to show off its strength, so I think it needs an ability that ties into this. Limber, Unburden, Mold Breaker don't really fit this, so I came up with this. After using a status move, for example, Swords Dance, Mega Hawlucha gets pumped. This being another term for Pokemon's crit rate going up, essentially adding the effect of focus energy to all of Mega Hawlucha's status moves. This would be insane, but I think this is balanced by the fact that to try and make normal Hawlucha useful, people typically go for a fast offensive set with something like Close Combat and a White Herb, which then activates Unburden and then sweep with Acrobatics. But with Mega Hawlucha's heightened defenses, I think it would make sense for it to tank a hit while it sets up, which then gets its crit rate up, and then sweep that way instead. Mega Scrafty's design and Dex entries show that it uses its shedded skin as protection, but its abilities, Shed Skin, Moxie, and Intimidate don't show that. Editing though, I am kind of realizing right now that all three of these abilities, Moxie and Intimidate especially, are really good for Scrafty, so I could probably just keep Moxie, but anyways. Mega Scrafty's best stats is 135 defensive stats, so I think giving it an ability that combines the effects of Solid Rock and the item's Utility Umbrella and Safety Goggles would be really cool. The Utility Umbrella, because it is literally wearing a hood now, like how was at not protecting it from the weather. Safety goals because of the same reason, and Solid Rock because it would make the most of those defenses, even against super effective moves, just so it lasts a little bit longer out on the field. The entire Chandelure line talks about how its flames are used to genuinely just steal the life force of the opponents that come into contact with it. So I thought of an ability that, after being hit by a Ghost or Fire type move from Mega Chandelure, would cause the target to take 1/16 of their HP every turn, almost like being burned without actually being burned. This could really go crazy with moves like Heat Wave, especially in doubles, which would cause both Pokemon to take guaranteed chip damage every turn, even if they protect, which would then force them to consider switching out to then end these effects. Balance is pretty simple. I think it would probably just keep Battle Armor or possibly get Sheer Force to amplify its attack power, but I thought of an incredible ability that fits it perfectly. This ability being called No Surrender. You know, like a little play on the signature move No Retreat. This ability would activate No Retreat on Mega Evolution. Or I guess if it was switched out by a move like Whirlwind, it would probably just reactivate when it switched back in. I mainly just think the ability is kind of funny, but I think it is a pretty cool concept. Mega Skarmory, I genuinely have no cool inspiration, no funny unique ability, I just think it should get Moxie. In competitive, Skarmory is usually a bulky support, so I think that with its better speed and attack stats, it would be cool to make it a fast Tailwind Sweeper or something like that. There's literally nothing else, that was all I have. I've seen the rumors that Mega Drampa's ability will probably be Drizzle, which I think is a really cool ability for it, setting up perfectly for Thunder and Hurricane, but also supporting other Pokemon on the field. But before I saw this, I did come up with a pretty cool one myself. Kinda similar to Delmice's ability Steelworker, which essentially gives it stab for Steel type moves. I think an ability called Stormbound would work, essentially adding the Electric type onto Drampa's normal and Dragon types, kinda like the move Forest Curse does, which I think adds Grass type to your Pokemon. I'm not exactly sure how it works though. So essentially Mega Drampa would get the immunity to paralysis, electric stab, weakness to ground, and I think that would just be really cool for a Pokemon like this, especially the way it looks. It really just fits the theme. Mega Zygarde is an insanely strong Pokemon, with a base stat total of 778, a special attack of 216. So naturally, a Mega Pokemon this strong should get an ability that matches. Right? No. We all know how insane Pokemon like Primal Groudon and Kyogre and Mega Rayquaza are, mostly because of these insane abilities and stats. So I think Mega Zygarde should just keep Aura Break, or even Power Construct, basically just giving it no ability, because I just don't think it needs it. It's strong enough and no one really wants this thing dominating competitive for like the next year until Gen 10 gets added, so I think leaving it the way it is works. The final two Pokemon I'll go over are Mega Chimecho and Baxcalibur. Chimecho probably keeping Levitate due to its new Steel type, and Baxcalibur due to having to hold its Mega Stone to Mega Evolve, not being able to make the most use of its usual moves, usually being Icicle Spear and Scale Shot, and then holding the loaded Dice item. So I think it would be really funny to give Mega Baxcalibur the ability Skill Link, causing these moves to hit 5 times anyway, because I'm insane and clearly I hate balance. Thank you all so much for watching, and even though Pokemon Champions comes out in a few days, I think it would still be cool to make a part 2 to this, with the rest of the DLC Pokemon. Maybe showing off abilities that I think would have fit better for them once their actual abilities have been revealed. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. See you guys later.